Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. So, what have the following all got in common? Jacob Rees-Mogg, Lee Anderson, and Boris Johnson. No, it's not that they are or were all Tory MPs. No, it's not that they all talk absolute nonsense either, although that is closer. It's that they all have their own shows on GB News. What's that? Boris Johnson doesn't have a show on GB News. Oh, he does now. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So this is actually probably the least terrible thing that GB News have drawn attention to themselves with for a while. Boris Johnson is no longer an MP, so there's no real reason for him not to go on television talking nonsense, just like he used to in the good old days before he destroyed the country. You know, there can be a bit of a suggestion. Has he asked a Cobra if, given that he was a member of the government not much more than a year ago, should he really be doing it? But he hasn't asked for permission for anything else, so why this one? He might even make it work. In fact, I think he probably will. You know, like Nigel Farage. I think he's skilled enough to attract and hold an audience on a show like that. Although it will be interesting, I don't think it'll be like a Lee Anderson flop. The problem with Lee Anderson is he doesn't really have any appeal of his own. He shoots his mouth off in some grim parody of the classic shock jock, but all he's doing is spouting lines. He's got actually no idea how to engage people. He just apes a set of lines that were thought up by someone else, which works in politics. You could use it in politics. Doesn't really sustain a television show where you've got to come up with your own unique nonsense. Boris Johnson is capable of producing original tripe on an industrial scale. Just wind him up and let him go. In terms of how Johnson described his role on the show, it seems clear to me what he intends as well. He's going to use it to embellish his own role in government, no doubt attack those he now sees as opponents and usurpers. It'll be amazing for him. He can complain at literally everything and gather the anti-establishment crowd. He can complain at the Conservatives and say things would be amazing if they hadn't hounded him out of office. He can complain at both Labour and the Conservatives after the election. You know, every time Labour make improvements that the public approve of, Johnson can berate Sunak for failing to have done the same, but, you know, with the Tory way. But he can also claim that he'd have done everything that Labour are doing, but way better. You know, so Labour make an improvement. Is that it? Oh, I would have done loads better. Well, why didn't you then? Oh, it was all in the works. It was all in the works. Oh, you'll have a whale of a time. I'm probably tempting fate, but I'm also not really seeing a major downside to this yet. Or that is to say, if he's going to have a platform to talk crap to the public, which he has anyway, this actually might not be the bad option. You know, if you look at GB News, say compared to the Daily Mail, he writes for the Daily Mail, right? That's more of a problem for me because the Daily Mail, it's quite distressing to say it, but is read by more normal people. I get the strong impression that GB News is watched largely by people who probably don't vote at all. They just hate everything to the point where they can't bring themselves to vote for anyone. And if they do, it's probably either the Conservatives or Reform UK or a really, really niche option, like an independent candidate or something like that. So, yeah, I don't think it's a huge problem, him being on that show. You know, it's he'll be causing way more problems for the Conservatives than Labour. Even when Labour in power, I suspect. I can see him spending almost every episode trying to turn the topic of conversation into how the witch hunt against him robbed the country of their brilliant leader. You know, 'cause, do you know what it'd be like? A sort of more nuanced version of Donald Trump. I mean, we can see the way Donald Trump's behaving these days. Absolutely off his trolley. It'll be sort of a little bit like that for Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson will be a slightly more grounded version of the orange one. It'll be like watching an embittered old man shouting at the ducks in the park. You know, in his reveal, he did a reveal video. And he said he'd talk about how our best days are ahead of us. And you can see where this is going, can't you? When Labour improve things, he'll claim that it's actually down to something he did, that idiot Sunak just failed to unlock. Literally every time something looks better, every time it's like, oh, that was me, that. I set it in motion, you see. Starmer's just taking the credit. You know, or every time Labour reversed something he did, So he can't claim that actually it was his idea because it's clearly the opposite of what Johnson said we should do. He'll say, "Oh, now you've ruined his future. His future was there. The golden pavements, the unicorns frolicking in the sunlit uplands. It's all gone now. What do you do that for?" He'll be like second level Nigel Farage. Farage got away with Brexit by blaming the outcomes on the incompetence of weakness of the government, including Johnson at the time, of course. Now Johnson's just going to do the same, isn't he? He's freed from the responsibility of actually managing anything. So he'll be like the worst backseat driver ever. And I think the Tories are absolutely going to hate it. It's like you think of the hatchet job that Nadine Dorries keeps trying to do on the Tory party all the time with her own columns and television show. But Johnson's got way more people paying attention to him, particularly in the Conservative Party. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.